In the United States, trains normally run on the right-hand side of double-track main lines. So why is this westbound train running on the left-hand side in Echo Canyon? I'm going to tell you why, coming right up. I'm Roy Smith. Thanks for joining me today. For me, it has been tons of fun to create a model railroad based on a real prototype, and that prototype is the Union Pacific Evanston Subdivision, running from Green River, Wyoming to Ogden, Utah. You may ask, why have I enjoyed trying to replicate a real railroad so much? Because it has given me a chance to learn about the history, geography, and economy of the region I am modeling and the Union Pacific Railroad running through that region. So my current layout is based on a real prototype, but the layout I built back in the 1980s was a freelance layout. Well, to be sure, the scenery on the layout looked like the hills of Pennsylvania, where I grew up, and the layout featured Conrail trains that rolled through there back in the 1980s. But otherwise, there was nothing prototypical about it. Sadly, I never took any pictures of it. This is what you see when you arrive at the door to my train room. But honestly, this layout isn't very prototypical either. What I mean is this: no matter how much space we may have for our layouts, it's never enough space to replicate the prototype exactly. So we always end up doing a lot of selective compression. But I have based my layout on a real prototype, and I hope that it at least captures the feel of the area that I am modeling. Now, if you've been following along on this channel, then you almost certainly have seen Echo Canyon, Utah on my layout. Echo Canyon is the best spot for rail fanning, both on my layout and on the real Evanston subdivision. But in case you haven't been following along, I will put a link to a video down below that describes the canyon and how I built it. Today I want you to come back to Echo Canyon with me. I am going to show you first that trains run on the left-hand side of the double-track main line through the canyon, and second, I am going to explain why they do this. Who knows, there may be some left-handed running in the area that you are modeling, and therefore on your layout as well. I hear you saying, okay, that's nice, but I'm modeling a freelance layout, and besides, we can run our trains any way we want to. You would be absolutely right, but I think it's fun to run our trains the way real trains run. Now, on double-track main lines, trains generally run on the right-hand side in the U.S. That is, the right-hand side facing in the direction of travel, just like we drive our cars on the right-hand side of the road. Incidentally, just as an aside, we sit on the left-hand side when driving our cars, but train engineers sit on the right-hand side because signals are usually located along the right-hand side of double mainline tracks. So engineers sit on the right-hand side in locomotive cabs so that they can see the signals more easily. Now, I know the introduction of CTC has blurred the practice of running on the right-hand side a little, because CTC signaling allows for movement of trains in either direction on either track of a double-track mainline. And I know that trains that would normally run on the right-hand side may sometimes have to move over to the left-hand side. For example, when the right-hand side track is closed for maintenance, or when a train needs to bypass a slower moving train on the same track. Be that as it may, trains still run mostly on the right-hand side. But in Echo Canyon, trains run on the left-hand side, not on the right-hand side. I didn't know this when I drew up my track plan and when I first built the canyon on my layout. I just assumed that trains ran on the right-hand side through the canyon just like they normally do everywhere else. Worse yet, even the idea of right-hand running didn't occur to me. I just assumed that trains could run on either track in either direction, and it was no big deal. That's how naive I was. I didn't know about left-handed running in Echo Canyon until John Abiticola of TSG Multimedia pointed it out to me a year or so ago after he did some rail fanning in Echo Canyon. So, learning how trains actually run through the canyon came as a surprise to me, and learning about it led me to try to replicate it on my layout, as you can see here. Still not convinced? Well, just look at this photo of the prototype. Here you see an eastbound train in Echo Canyon. It is running on the left-hand track in the direction that it is traveling, and this overhead view illustrates left-hand running in Echo Canyon. So, just why do trains run on the left-hand track in Echo Canyon? Well, for two reasons actually. First, on railroads where the two tracks of a double-track mainline are physically separated, the track that has the lesser grade is normally used for uphill running. This is exactly what happens in Echo Canyon. You can see the separation of the two tracks in this satellite view. The south track, or westbound main, is used for westbound trains. This track was first laid through Echo Canyon back in 1868 and 1869 as part of America's first transcontinental railroad. It was laid with a staggering grade of 1.7%, more than double the maximum normal grade of 0.82% for Union Pacific tracks. So because the grade of this track is so steep, westbound trains use it to go downhill. The north track, or eastbound main, wasn't laid until 47 years later in 1916. It has a more gentle grade of 1.14%, so eastbound trains use this track to climb uphill at a gentler grade. Even though the north track isn't as steep as the south track, it is still one of the steepest climbs anywhere in the U.S., and that's why the Union Pacific used it for its most powerful locomotives here. Its Challengers, Big Boys, gas-electric turbines, and Centennials. In fact, eastbound trains run on the left-hand side all the way from Ogden, or more precisely from Riverdale, a suburb of Ogden, until they reach a geographic location in Echo Canyon called Cuervo. From Ogden to Cuervo is a rail distance of 76 track miles. Cuervo is only a couple of miles from the top or eastern end of the canyon at Wasatch. Of course, I didn't have space on my layout to separate the tracks of the double main line at the upper end of the canyon. Now, what exactly happens at Cuervo? Well, westbound trains go from right-hand running to left-handed running. That's what. How does that happen? Let me explain. At Cuervo, the tracks pierce a ridge through eastbound and westbound tunnels. To the east of the tunnels, trains run on the right hand. To the west of the tunnels, trains run on the left hand because the tracks cross over each other at the west tunnel portals. The newer eastbound track passes over the older westbound track. For westbound trains, the result is left-handed running all the way to Ogden. This is not an easy spot to get to. It's isolated and desolate, and you have to get permission to cross private ranch land to get to it, so you won't see a lot of photos of it. But here's one photo taken by Don Strack. I will put a link down below where you can go to see more of his photos on this engineering marvel. So there you have it. The tracks cross over at the west end of the Cuervo tunnels, leading to left-hand running in Echo Canyon. Westbound trains then run downhill on the older and steeper grade, and eastbound trains climb to the top of Echo Canyon on the newer track, having a grade that is less steep. Recreating these kinds of prototypical movements on my layout fascinates me, even though I don't have room for the Curvo tunnels and the crossover tracks at the west end of the Curvo tunnels. Now, what about you and your layout? Certainly this is not the kind of thing that should keep you awake at night. But does the idea of running your trains on the right-hand and left-hand sides of your double main lines appeal to you? Let us know in the comments section down below. I would like to know whether you try to recreate this kind of thing on your layout. Here's another look at left-hand running through Echo Canyon on my layout. Now, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you haven't done it yet. And don't go away just yet, because there are tons of other videos for you to watch right here on this channel. Click over here for 2 of them, or go to my videos page and browse around. Thanks again for watching. I'm Roy Smith. Until next time, happy railroading.